So welcome everyone to the Coffee and Conversation with OVIS. As you know, our topic is what's wrong with the news media. We could probably go on for 50 hours about that. But again, thank you for taking time on a Sunday evening for joining us. You know, given the nature of this topic, I'm sure this is going to be a lively discussion and we want everybody to engage. As some of you or most of you know, I'm Linton Johnson. I'm the founder of OVIS, and I want to quickly introduce our team. Ordinarily, I'd start with our co-founders, but I'm going to first start with Ariel Mercado because he's our community lead, but today he's playing the role of kind of traffic cop. So Ariel, why don't you introduce yourself real quick and then give us the rules of the road on how we use this fancy software called Google Meet.
Hi, I'm Ariel. I'm the community lead for OVIS. So I guess for today, looks like we have a small group here. So if it gets a little bit more crowded, I'm just going to ask folks to raise their hand in the little hand feature there next to the microphone at the bottom of your screen. And then I might do my best to call you guys in order to, if you want to chime in.
With that, let me go around real quick. So speaking of Shashank, I guess we'll go in reverse order of seniority. Shashank is our digital marketing specialist. And where did he go? Am I not seeing him? Did he disappear? Did the internet die over there across the pond? Apparently it did.
Looked like he dropped off, but he'll be back. So
he'll be back. He'll be back.
Move on to someone else.
Well, and then with that, Elsa Ramon, our co-founder. Hello, Elsa.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Please feel free to ask us anything.
Yes,
regarding this.
Anything. We can answer your question, but you can ask us whatever you like. Kidding. All right, and then Michael Filson, also one of our co-founders as well. The bow tie guy. So, you know, I have a very big passion for OVIS and what we're trying to do. And we're not here to sell you on anything. We're just here to have a conversation and introduce you a little bit about what we're trying to achieve. And if you want to join us, we'd love to have you. If you don't, that's fine. You know, we all have stories about why we joined the OVIS team. So I'm going to tell one of the many stories that kind of led up to building OVIS. And it is because I had issues with the news. When I was a reporter at Cake TV, which was the ABC affiliate in Wichita, Kansas. You know, I was fresh out of journalism school. It's my first job out of Northwestern's Medill School of Journalism. And I had all those ideals that they instill in you about fairness and trustworthiness and accountability and all of that, right? So I get into Cake TV as a reporter. And I'm on this story called Water Joe, this new caffeinated water. And, you know, my first inclination when they assigned this to me is, I mean, why is this news? But okay, fine. I'll go out and cover the Water Joe story. And, I mean, it's different. So, you know, caffeinated water, first time ever. So I decided I was assigned to go interview the folks at Water Joe. And usually, you know, companies have a spokesperson, but this time they had me interview with the sales guy, which I found a little odd, but small company, you know, whatever. So I interviewed with the sales guy, and at the end of the discussion, the guy says, "Oh, and you know, make sure you do the story really well because you know we're sponsors of Cake TV." And I was just like, "Wait, what just happened here?" So you're basically buying your coverage, and I'm supposed to be as a neutral journalist telling your story, and you're demanding that I. So that was the first time where I saw the corporate influence on news. And, you know, I've had about almost 20 years in the news industry before I moved over to the communications and public relations side. And, you know, since then it's just gotten worse, worse, and worse. You know, you feel like you're compromising yourself all the time and you try to do things with integrity, but you start to kind of lose your soul. And so I got out and wanted to do something different. And, you know, we all have different stories, and I'm going to let Michael share his. And these are from the journalist standpoint, and we'll invite you to share yours from a news consumer standpoint as well. But Michael, why did you join the OVIS team?
Hi, my name is Michael Filson. I'm a photographer. I'm an editor. I've worked for NBC, the Wall Street Journal, and a variety of different outlets. And one of the things that I saw that made me concerned where journalism, or rather corporate media, was headed is at most TV stations these days, they are owned and operated by the same networks that they represent. They're not owned by local management, local ownership. So that means that somebody from out of town owns the station. The advertising revenue that's spent at the station goes out of town. And basic corporate philosophy is maximize profits, maximize shareholder value. It's not about community service. And so a lot of these stations take up big areas of geography, and they underserve their market because, you know, payroll personnel, news personnel, journalists cost money, and their priority is profit, not having a large workforce providing news. So I always found that working at corporate stations that there was underrepresentation of news. So I've felt, you know, that OVIS is a way of reducing corporate media influence and perhaps allowing local media to open in over 100 markets in America to better serve the public. Linton?
Yeah, you know, Cassie just commented in the chat, profits over people. You know, we've heard that a million times before, and that's what corporations, a lot of them do. So Elsa, what was your, and Cassie, I'm going to get to you in a second, but Elsa, what was your story?
And that's a good point, by the way, Cassie, profits over people. A lot of times those of us who are doing the stories or anchoring the newscasts do have people's interests in mind. We want to do the stories, we want to get them help, but the corporate heads and shareholders and the bosses are at odds with that because they're trying to appease somebody else. So realize that it is an internal struggle for those of us who really just want to do our job and do what we came to do. I spent over 21 years in the news business as an anchor, as a reporter, and I just saw that dynamic get worse and worse throughout the years I spent in our career. And, you know, of course, the bosses and higher ups are going to win that war, not you. So increasingly, stories became more of clickbait. There were more of nuggets of truth in it, but then the story just panned out as not as advertised. We began to cover things that were just so meaningless and standing out in weather situations, rain, a downed tree. Being an anchor in LA, I covered countless car chases. Not to say that sometimes for a lot of people they aren't exciting to watch, but overall, these aren't things that benefit people in big ways. So, you know, I became very disenchanted, and I left 3 years ago and got into the crypto blockchain world, and here we are today. And I'm really excited to hear your points of view on how you view the news media and your experiences too. That's just, though, one of many, many, many experiences we've had as journalists versus corporate bosses throughout the years.
You know, I think the effects that we, like I said, we start to feel like we lose our soul and we're not really doing things meaningfully for the community. And what we wanted to do is invite the community to talk about what, from their standpoint, what does the news do to you and how could it be better and what's wrong with the news? And Cassie has agreed to come to share her story as well. So welcome.
Thanks, Linton. Thanks for putting this together, everyone who's involved with this and having me on today. For me, I think first and foremost, it's the negativity that is perpetuated through the media, and how Elsa mentioned the clickbait, and this is what people are interested in, so that's what they continue to feed, and it just is a vicious cycle. And then the second part that I want to talk about is just watching people create their own reality and passing it off as what's actually real. But so with the first part, I was at my mom's house the other day with my 5-year-old and 8-month-old, and her husband had the news on, and a story came on about a parent like harming and killing, murdering his child, and I was just like, okay, let's go into the other room. You know, like, it's not something that I want to hear personally, and certainly don't want my 5-year-old to think is like, this is what's happening. You know, whether or not it's happening is not even really the point, but just like that's what the media is choosing to focus on. And so to me, getting away from that is really important, and focusing on things that are going to help our world become better, and solutions, right? So if is a challenge that's happening, then where do we go so that things can get better, not just focusing on, again, the negativity. And then watching for 4 years, over 4 years, right, because the campaign too, this particular human fabricate and create his own reality, and then people just being okay with the fact, knowing that things were lies, and just being like, okay, yeah, that wasn't true, and like no repercussions for it. So that's another challenge I think that I would love to see overcome. And being in partnership with OVIS News through our platforms, I'm CEO of, my name is Cassie, and I'm the CEO of Zap Life, which is a live streaming platform. It is what we call a social experience for the creator economy. And we also have a crypto platform, Zap Theory, where OVIS News has their tokenized, their token, which is really exciting, and building communities and bringing people together who want the same things through cryptocurrency. So really excited again to be here and for the work that you're doing. And when I first heard about what you were doing, I guess 2 years ago now, right? I was just like, wow, that's incredible. Like solving for finding, solving for eradicating fake news is just, yes, let's get that done.
I think what you said that struck me was people just say anything without any accountability. That's really, I think, at the heart of it. Yes, you can have your opinion, but when you have opinions that are based on misinformation or deliberate fake news, and with no accountability, that drives me crazy personally. But I want to kind of also open it up, since this is a conversation. Is there anybody else who kind of want to share their story, but what they're thinking? Why has what's wrong with the news media? Alex, I know you have a story because you've been dealing with it. You're like a news junkie. As much as I've known you, you're a news junkie. Do you want to talk about anything that kind of has irked you in the past? And if you are talking, you're on mute. Otherwise, I might just jump over to Mr. Eddie Hammett.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so what has irked you about the news media?
The thing that irks me the most about the news media is probably the false equivalency that happens daily in the news. I think we've all seen the stories where the press will report on something Fauci says, and he will give this long speech about how the vaccines are perfectly safe and no one should be worried about the vaccines and they're good for you and there's nothing going to happen to you. And then they talk to somebody on the street and they're like, well, it's an inconvenience. I don't trust it. I don't know what's in it. Is it going to take away my human rights by changing my DNA? And it's just like the arguments are not on the same plane.
You mean like it's that man on the street or the person on the street who suddenly become the expert after 100 scientists with long careers and backgrounds are now suddenly just as smart as the man on the street, right? Is that what you're kind of saying, the false equivalency? Hi, Cindy.
Hi, Linton.
So Eddie, do you want to? It looks like you want to jump in there.
Yeah, I think what attracts me to OVIS is so much of our news is agenda driven and has lost the integrity of truth. It's agenda driven, not fact driven necessarily. And those agendas are personalized agendas. They're not communal agendas unless it's with an absorbed community that's kind of incestuous, if you will. But a lot of what attracts me to OVIS is to try to find the integrity again. Both of the person that's in the news and the person reporting the news.
Yeah, and with no accountability again, agendas get driven and not based in fact, which is just it's stunning how it's proliferated, and with social media platforms, it just has become a whole lot worse, and it's really degraded people's trust in the news.
Linton, Brenda just signed on as well.
Oh, hi, Brenda. we're just sharing our stories, and if you want to.
Hi there. Sorry, I'm moving around as I'm listening.
Oh, that's
How are
okay.
you?
All right. Did you want to? Why don't you trust the news if you want to jump in? Or what is it about the news media that has your distrust?
I don't know that I completely distrust it, but I will say one of the things that I've noticed consistently over the years is that there's a nugget of truth nestled in all of the variation of the stories that you hear, and it's just so challenging to figure out which of the pieces are more true than others.
That's interesting. I hear that over and over. People don't know where to turn to get just the truth, right? They find nuggets here and there, but there's no like single source where they can, feel confident that the information is accurate, trustworthy, verifiable, and accountable. And I think that's making people lose trust in news. That's a story, your story. I hear that just constantly. In fact, it's kind of a nice transition. What I'm going to share with you all is a poll that we did at OVIS not too long ago. Let's see. So we did a poll with Pure Spectrum of 1,021 respondents. It's a nationwide poll between June 17th and August 12th. And the question was, how truthful is the news media? And I bet you won't be surprised at what the answer was to that. But between only 7.2% of the respondents said that the news media was very truthful. And if you add up everybody else, it's basically 92% have some level of distrust in the media. So Michael likes to put this in perspective. Michael, I'm going to let you take this away.
Yes. So this means that, according to all Americans, that Americans distrust the media about just as much as the 3 of the 7 creepy dwarves that you see in front of you. This is, of course, Kissy, Pervy, and Rapey. And that, of course, being the self-admitted toucher from the governor of the state of New York, soon to be formally retired in less than 2 weeks, if I understand correctly.
Yes, the governor, yes.
Yes, the governor. And then, of course, the now formally indicted alleged pedo, Congressman Matt Gaetz of Florida. And
that happened today, right?
Yes, as of today, that is fresh off the wire, according to my Twitter feed and the Washington Post. Okay. And the, of course, convicted rapist, Harvey Weinstein, who, of course, is the Rapey, the dwarf. So, yeah, the American public has a distrust that is kind of equivalent to these 3 individuals, according to our poll.
No, that's a sad state. I when we did this poll, we kind of knew we would get some numbers like this because it's pretty consistent with the Gallup poll and the Pew Research polls that are out there that people have. The trust in media is at its lowest levels ever. I think there was a Gallup poll in January that said it was at an all-time low. So we weren't really surprised by these numbers. But the numbers that we were surprised at when we asked this next question, do you believe that it would ever be possible to eradicate fake news? And so when you add up, it seems like it's a problem that's just overwhelming. And I wasn't surprised personally at the number on the no side, 39.5%. But what was really heartening was this number, 16.4% believe that it's possible to eradicate fake news, which really, it means that people obviously want to eradicate fake news. And if they have a belief that it's possible, then maybe there's something that we can do about it. And at OVIS, we think we can. But the other thing is, what do people want to do about fake news? And Wilson, you might want to.
We thought we would take the Hannibal Lecter approach to fake news and strap it down to a board and mask it for our communal safety, with a healthy course of fact checking, of course.
Yes. Well, I'm not going to get into how we will strap them down and take them away, but I will kind of just.
Or any of my fetishes, for that matter.
Briefly explain what OVIS is doing. What we're trying to do is we're trying to solve a problem. I'm sorry, we're not trying to solve the problem of trying to change corporate news or social media. And the reason why I say that is because, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, they're too big. We can't change them. They are the kings of news. So what we're trying to do is move to a new paradigm, reinvent everything. I can't solve their problems. I don't think any of us can, but we can create a whole new world in which news is based on truth and how we end fake news by incentivizing the truth. And so we kind of looked at what was wrong with corporate media and social media because it's really proliferating there. And you can kind of see the big contrast. So with corporate news and social media, it's very centralized, meaning they're just a number of people, few people who are at the top making decisions for everybody else. They certainly exploit all of us, as you well know. Car chases, black versus white, gay versus straight, all of that, right? Exploiting humankind. Certainly on the corporate news side, you just receive information. You have no say in what news that you get. Not really. I mean, ratings, I guess one could argue about that, but you're pretty passive as to what media, what information you are fed. On the participant side, on the social media side, there are participants, the people who are on social media, I guess we participate in it. But I would say it's in that regard, we're somewhat like OVIS. But certainly in these last 3 points, the corporate news media and the social media are very autocratic. They tell you what to do and what to believe, and everything is top down. Social media would claim that it's manipulated, but it's manipulated bottoms up. Claim that it's bottoms up rather, but it's manipulated bottoms up. If you think about all the algorithms that are out there, they're really directing you to information that's just within your own paradigm. And then shareholder owned, both of them are shareholder owned. So for OVIS, what we're doing is we're taking a completely different approach. We're decentralizing it. So it's all about we, the people, and all of us get to control the news. We'll talk about that later. You're rewarded, you're not exploited. So with OVIS, you're rewarded to tell the truth. You're rewarded to pitch story ideas that are meaningful to you, not meaningful to the people at the top. And obviously you're a participant, and we're trying to make this very democratic. You get to vote on stories at OVIS that are meaningful to you. And it's definitely bottoms up. The people control OVIS, and it's people owned. And what I mean by that is that when you are a token holder, you are an owner of OVIS. And so our plan is that after all the people are paid, all the journalists, all the participants are paid who are working to give you high quality, trusted, verifiable news, the revenue, the surplus revenue, is redistributed amongst the people, not to a select group of shareholders or CEOs. It's all about returning the profits back to the people.
And Linton, can I add, I will add, not only are people incentivized by being on the up and up in the community, but there is also something to lose, not only your tokens, but your place in our community. So if the technology and our fact checkers and editors and everyone comes to a consensus that you're a bad actor in the community, you're trying your best to manipulate the platform, manipulate votes, manipulate anything like that, you'll lose your tokens and you'll lose the ability to be part of the community. So it's not just people being incentivized, it's they have something to lose too, everyone. From news consumers, journalists, editors, fact checkers.
I'm really glad you brought that up, because that goes back to Cassie's point. There's just no accountability, right? When you put something bad on, you can say whatever you want to say, and there's no accountability for it.
And if I may add to Edward's question and point earlier, that this does create a sense of accountability and reputation. So not only is there something to lose, but there's something to gain by being a good actor and being consistently accurate. In other words, there's an incentive to do the right thing, short-term and long-term. Not just a click, not just an impression, not just an ad, but the quality of journalism and information that's produced and distributed.
So we know a lot of people have a lot of questions, and we're getting close to time. But this is time to ask your questions. And in the meantime, we invite you all to learn more about OVIS by joining our wait list. If you join the wait list, there's lots of special things that you will get privy to that people in the future will not have. So visit ovis.news. Simple, it's free. join the wait list. And at this point, we're almost at the 4:30 time. So we promised in our advertising, and because we're accountable, we promised after at the end of this at 4:30, 7:30 Eastern, we would give a gift card. But let's do the drawing for the Starbucks gift card, and then we'll just open up for questions. And we're going to stay on for as long as you would like us to answer any questions that you might have. So if Shashank wants to share his screen, we've got this cool way to give out a gift card. And by the way, it looks like this will be an easy win for folks because there are not a lot of people on the call. And because the people on staff are not eligible to win, you have a really good chance at winning this. So Shashank, would you like to spin the wheel?
So somebody's going to have a pretty big caffeine or scone buzz.
Yeah. Eddie! I'll give a round of applause.
Oh,
for
he had
Hannah.
the
You just
sound
won the
effect,
$25
too.
gift card for Starbucks. Look at that stuff.
Oh, good. Congratulations, Edward.
Edward, if you could drop in your email in the chat box or maybe email it to us, we can send you the gift card via email.
Thank you.
I have his email as well, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So anyway, with that, we just wanted to open up to any questions that you might have. And don't be shy. As you said, you can ask anything. And if it's embarrassing, we'll have Elsa answer it.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Statue of Liberty, where they touched your liberty.
We're going to
Freedom.
That's right.
Where did they hurt your freedom?
And just remember, we will be hosting more of these. So hopefully as time goes on, we'll have more and more people join the discussion and broaden the topics and discussion as well. So if you're not quite ready to speak out yet, next time you might be ready to, the more people we have on the platform.
Yeah. Well, it looks like Cindy had to go, and Brenda said thanks for the invite. With that, we're not going to hold up everybody on a Sunday, so please tell your friends, invite your friends to join the wait list, and we'll talk to you all later. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.